All right, good evening, fellow protectors. Welcome to the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast. Greg LaBeouf back here with you. Got Brad Vanderlei with us tonight again. Dustin's gone this week, so we're back and forth with everybody, but it's going to be an interesting conversation. So I titled this episode, Who Lives and Who Dies? And I'm going to go into a couple layers with this, but what I want to share with people is the answer to this question. And the question is basically this. Why is it that some people do very well when somebody is trying to murder them, when others don't do well at all? And I'm not referencing to trained versus untrained. Okay, yes, that can make a difference, but maybe not as much as what people think. So we're going to cut to the intro, but I want you thinking about why you believe some men do better when someone's trying to murder them and others don't do as well. What actually separates this? Okay, so we're going to dive deep. I'm going to share my thoughts. Brad will share his thoughts. Back in a few seconds. Every day I hear more stories of good people being brutally assaulted and murdered by some individual who has a repeat history of violent offenses, drug addiction, and mental health issues, who is free to walk the streets in the same city where I live, work, and where I am raising my two daughters. Well, I'm tired of screaming at the TV, and enough is enough. Throughout history, there have always been men willing to answer the call to the threats against our way of life. Well, today, that threat is right outside our doors, on our streets, in our neighborhoods, on our public transportation system, outside the places we work, and even outside of our children's schools. My new mission is to create and train a group of men that believe in the right to life and value the freedom a man has to protect his life, his family, and his property. I'm Greg LaBeouf. Welcome to the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast. Okay, all right, so who lives and who dies? What I said before the intro was, let's answer the following question. Why do some people do very well when someone's trying to murder them and others do not? And again, I wanted to think, I believe I have what I believe are a couple of the real main kind of critical pieces to this. And it's not what most people would think. Most people, I think, would place a heavy emphasis on the training. Listen, I'm just going to state this from the beginning, and I'm sure I'll repeat it a couple times throughout it. Training is important, man. Training can make the difference. Training often does make the difference. But when you actually step back and look at this, there are many individuals every single day all across the world that successfully defend themselves from extremely violent situations, life and death situations, and they've never had a fucking day of training. Like, I know maybe a lot of instructors and, coaches and, trainers and all that kind of stuff. That's not something they want to talk about. Because basically what you're saying is, listen, you don't actually really need any type of training. There are other ingredients that allow people to do very fucking well when someone's trying to murder them. And if you have those, you're going to do well. And if you don't, you're not going to do well. Training is definitely an asset. It's an assist to the whole process. But what I want to talk about tonight isn't the benefit that training brings. I want to talk about what the core characteristics are that people can look at. You can develop these things that actually has nothing to do with training. Okay, so if I go, I'll give you kind of a different analogy of this. I've seen this before, even in training, right? I see people that in training, they hit the target, meaning like they execute very well in training. And then I've seen, and I'm not talking about just the people I'm talking about my whole career, kickball, all this stuff, kickball, whatever. Then I see guys in the real world who just fuck up. Guys that I've seen guys get in street fights that are fucking animals in the gym and just fucking lambs in the street. And it's like, so this is a problem that affects everything, whether it's weaponized training or combat sport or martial art, all of it. Okay, so actually, before I even jump into a couple of my principles, I want to get your take on it, Brad, and maybe even if you want, you can share what what viscerally one thing or what the difference you think it is, that allows people to do well versus people that don't do well?
You know what? I think that it's not just one ingredient, right? We could agree that there's probably multiple things that contribute to this answer. Um, One that I gravitated to right away was instantaneous decisive action.
Okay. Yep.
And it was, just something that screamed loudly to me, because you hear so many examples of people that, in the face of violence, in the face of trauma, even in the face of um, other disasters like natural, even mechanical disasters, people that take action like instantaneous usually fare well. And this is no different than human violence, right? So just the fact of like knowing that there's a danger in front of you, um, and taking an action, like whatever that action is, if that's immediately, physically defending yourself, if that's physically running away, there's a fire in the building. Is that waiting for everybody to notice that there's a fire in a building before you start running and getting for egress, or are you just like, oh fuck, there's trouble here? Like the story of like the fireworks at the concert, like how many people got trampled because everybody's like thought it was part of the show,
Yep.
and people died. But there was people that took instantaneous action, be like, "Oh fuck, this is not right," and they got the fuck out of there. So like that is like a principle I think that covers a lot of ground, and it is true in violence too. Was something that I believe is, like we talk a lot about benefiting of the doubt yourself to death, and this would be the countermeasure, in my opinion, of that. Understanding that there is immediate bodily grievously harm in front of you and taking action. And even if that action is not the most efficient action, it is, maybe you might remember the quote, about like a military general who's like, I don't care if this is the um,
Yep.
best plan, but it is a plan that we're going to execute at 100%,
Yep.
right? And it's that conviction of action when you've decided to take it. I think that is a very important ingredient.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And a matter of fact, I'm glad that you brought that point up because it's going to actually prove my point. So they're just synergistic together. So, a matter of fact, just to share with people, they did an FBI study. This is many years back, but they I can't remember the exact number, but they interviewed, it was something like 30 to 40,000 survivors of violent crime. And what they were looking for was trying to identify if there was a technique, a strategy, something that that each person used consistently that worked to save their life. And at the end of the day, they couldn't do it. They couldn't actually come up with a technique, a move, something like that. The only thing that they consistently saw that was statistically relevant was that the people that survived took decisive action, just like you're saying. They didn't matter what they did, didn't matter if it was super, like they did something. Okay, and so here's my point with this: who lives and who dies? Why are some people really good when someone's trying to murder them, and others are not? And it's basically this: human beings are born with an innate survival system, right? So we are hardwired to want to survive. So you take, I often use this analogy. If someone grabbed your head and shoved your head underwater, you're going to have a primal response to that where your body's going to be fucking screaming for you to get air. You're going to have a reaction to that. And you're probably going to, the desire to want to survive is strong. Most people don't just get their head pushed underwater and lie there and go, well, they don't go Eeyore. Well, it's been a nice life. You know what I mean? And just like submit and die. There's a primal desire to want to survive. But here's the point: the will to survive is not nearly as important as the will to prevail. There's a massive difference there. The answer to criminal aggression is retaliation. So now we have to dissect this. Lots of people, lots of men have the desire to survive. right? They want to keep their families alive. They want to keep their families safe. They want to survive. They want to live. They want to live and don't want to have to feel the threat and deal with the elements and all this type of shit and all the problems. So they want to survive. But that is very different than individuals that not only want to survive, but they want to fucking prevail. Because if and when violence finds you, we say it all the time this way. I don't want to survive. I want to fucking thrive in that element. If criminals come at you, imminent, grievous bodily harm or death, their intent is to fucking murder you, your family, or other innocent people. Instantaneous action, retaliation against that, that is what we need. Do you get what I mean? And that is a different fucking state of mind. That is a different fucking mindset than just, I want to survive. Right? A man fighting to survive and a man fighting to fucking thrive. So you want to bring violence to me? I'm going to fucking show you violence. You know what I mean? And that retaliation comes back. Now, I just want to be really clear, and it should already. I'm not talking about unsolicited, unwarranted retaliation, right? We're not talking about, that at all. Someone is trying to fucking murder you. They're actively in the process of attempting to murder you. Well, I'm going to retaliate in kind, and I'm going to fucking kill you. There's a difference between murdering and killing. I'm not murdering you. You're trying to murder me. And if you do not make a different decision and cease and desist instantaneously in attempting to murder me, then good men need to violently retaliate. Right? Again, violence isn't always the answer, but when it is the only fucking answer.
It's being indignant.
Sorry, what's that?
Being indignant.
Yeah, getting indignant. That's the retaliatory spirit. You know what I mean? Oh, you're gonna try and kill me? Fuck you! Like doom. That's why we have the saying, "Doom on you." Because, oh, you're trying to murder me? You're thinking evil? You bring evil to me? Doom on you! Fuck you! Watch this.
Well, as we talk about too, it's like, why do people, like violent criminals, think that they get to play God? Who gives you the fucking power, you piece of shit? Like, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. 100%. So, just for absolute clarity, I've experienced this over my 30 years, and I know other combat instructors, like guys that have they have trained tens of thousands, soldiers, military. I mean, my mentors, just guys that are like world fucking class. And I heard it through them first, and I have also come to know this as an absolute truth. But one of my mentors in particular, he shared with me probably 70 case studies of men. This is private sector men, not law enforcement, not military. We're going to get deeper into this in a second. 70 different cases of private civilians, your quote unquote average men, okay, that had come to him, trained with him, and then subsequently found themselves in what we call, meeting the elephant, which means they experienced life and death violent conflict. Okay, so they call that seeing the elephant, seeing the truth of it. You're in actual life in jeopardy peril. And at the end of that, after coming to a successful resolution, meaning these motherfuckers did in the attacker, at the end of it, not a one of them out of those 70, and there's far more, this is just the 70 that he shared with me, not a one of them said, the reason I prevailed in this life and death situation was because of this technique that you showed me, or that technique, or because of my marksmanship or my high level attributes. It had nothing to do with that. Every single one of them said, the reason I'm still fucking here, or the reason my family is here, is because I was thinking the way you taught me to think. Not because of the skill set that you showed me. What's the lesson from this? The lesson is, when you train, now you don't have to have this from training, but training does build this. You don't just have the fucking will to survive, you have the mindset to fucking want to prevail. You get what I mean? Like, some motherfuckers have that shit. Like, they're just like, fuck you, doom on you. They have that mindset. You come at me and I'm going to come back at you. Now, tie this in with what you said. Tie this in with what the FBI study proved. Instantaneous, decisive action was the biggest connector of what allowed 30, 40,000 victims of extreme violent assault to survive, right? Was they took decisive action, which means what? They fucking had the will. They wanted to fucking prevail. Fucking someone's trying to attack them, doom on you, like, fuck you. That is powerful. And so again, not a popular thing for an instructor, coach, business owner to say, but I don't give a fuck because this is the fucking truth. What training does, we say this all the time. I love this saying, man. If people come to you, some of them come to you as a child, like an infant, meaning they have the survival instincts. Like, I mean, they're here, so they want to survive, but they don't have the mindset. They don't have the warrior mindset. They don't have the protector mindset. They don't have that desire to prevail. So they're like an infant. Training takes an infant and teaches them to fight like a boy, and then takes that boy and teaches him to fight like a man, and then takes that man and teaches him to fight like a fucking Superman. Mindset. You instill in them, they no longer just like, I just want to survive if something happens. And they get to this point of like, if something happens, fucking doom on you. Like, you're going to see it. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you got a guy that comes into you as a man, he comes into you with a good fucking mindset, it just takes him and moves him to a Superman. So whatever level you're at, you can learn this mindset, or you already have this mindset, and then you can fucking sharpen it. So you can develop it or you can sharpen it.
Well, there's like, you said something about, like training, it's not the only way, but training gives you this mindset. And it made me think of like a lot, like we say doom on you all the time. That is something that we talk about and we learn, and we don't, it's not just saying it, but actually owning that. But another one that came into mind just as we were talking is like, fuck you, it's not over till I win.
That's right.
Right? That really for me connects to that sense of wanting to prevail. I'm like, no, like, you may beat me, you may hurt me, you may injure me, but fuck you, it's not over till I win. And again, it's like we have the weaponizing process, and obviously everybody knows that there's the physical element to that. But how much of the like these sayings and things like that those ethos that we've not integrated, like it's like really taken ownership of, and actually no, let's go deeper than that. It's not just ownership, it's belief.
Yeah.
It's conviction. Like, these are things that, like, I've been doing this for 25 years, you 30, Dustin 25, like, it's like, this is who we are. This is who we are, what we believe, and how we choose to live our lives. And we, like, that is part of our belief mechanism.
Yeah.
Is, fuck you, it's not over till I win. Yeah. Fuck you, doom on you. You want to come here and murder my family? Fuck you. Yeah. You may get me, but it's gonna be the hardest fucking thing you ever did. Yeah. Like, that is the terminology. That is the language that we use, and just by virtue of speaking like that with people that just start the weaponizing process, they're like, oh fuck, this is how these guys believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's classical conditioning, and another one is how long does it take? Like, it takes as long as it fucking takes. All of those things contribute to the mindset. Like, no, we're going to prevail. Like, I don't just want to survive. Fucking doom on you. We're gonna like, I'm going to thrive in this motherfucking shit, right? The solution to criminal violence is fucking retaliation. And again, under the context, you're actively in the process of trying to murder me. Fuck you. I'm going to retaliate. I'm going to retaliate in kind. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's this war. Fuck you. You know what I mean? And the other side is like, and again, like, the training's powerful, but because an unweaponized man can only flee from evil, and evil is not overcome by fleeing from it. And that comes into, that's why it's like, you can have a great survival mindset. And I'm not saying at times you shouldn't remove yourself from a situation, but again, there is a harshness to the mindset. There's a certainty, there's a conviction of, like you said, belief and action. So this is the first piece of this puzzle, is why do, like, who lives and who dies? Honestly, in a lot of it, it's mindset. You know what I mean? That's what it is. You win these, you live because of the way you think, not because of how skilled you are. That is first and foremost because of how you think. If your thinking's right, your odds of survival go way the fuck up. If your thinking is not right, you're gonna need a shit ton of fucking high level attributes and techniques and all that type of shit to overcome a bad mindset. It's just, and most likely those people die. Do you know what I mean? It's like in the shooting world, a couple guys that I know that I really, really respect their stuff, is they say it all the time. Violent shootouts aren't won with marksmanship. That's a small part of it. Do you know what I mean? It's won with, again, the right mindset. It's the warrior mindset that does it. Marksmanship plays a much smaller factor in it. Gun handling, marksmanship plays a much smaller role in it than most people would think. From the outside, most people think it's everything. Because if you can hit the target, then you're going to win. That's true. But some men, when someone's trying to murder them and shoot him, like, why couldn't you keep your head about you? Well, guy's shooting back at me. Yeah. You give him, like, you got it. Like, that's mindset is what allows you to stay fucking composed and then actually get in the fight. It's no different with what we're talking about. So the second piece of this, or unless you had a comment to go off that.
No, my mind is kind of racing, and it's, you have the mindset, but then it's like, how do you best, like, we obviously weaponize, but it's like, how are you supporting that mindset?
Yeah.
How are you, I'm thinking Trojan horse. I'm thinking the strategies where we talk about doom on you, and it's like, that takes that mindset, and that 10x is any action that we want to take.
Yeah.
And people look from the outside, if you don't really understand the way that we think and the mindset, and if you see some of our physical strategies, you'd be like, well, that doesn't make sense. But they're thinking a fight, and we're thinking violent criminal assault, and it's like, but those strategies, they enhance the mindset, and they really, they work so synergistically and so like viciously. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's the thing about, like, when you're looking at training, you got to look at what's the mindset behind the organization. Like what's the standard? What the context determines the content. What's the mindset, and then does the training support the mindset? Like, look at this in life. How many people do you know? And this is a question to everybody who's going to listen to this. How many people do you know that say one thing and do something different? Like, what they say doesn't match their actions. Like, well, we know a shit ton of people that'll hit. We've all done it. But, I mean, we know a shit ton of people that's how they live their fucking lives. They're always saying one thing and doing the other. They're not, they don't have the conviction of belief. They're not aligned. And so you want to develop the mindset. If and when you are going to, like, the mindset's powerful. And like you said, that can save your fucking life. If you're going to train, then make sure the training is in line with the mindset. And violence has a very specific type of mindset. The training has to synergistically connect with that. So that's a very important part. Many times people are preaching one. I know lots of instructors that preach mindset. They talk, everything they're saying sounds good, and their training is not aligned. Yeah. The way you train is not the way you talk. And that's just like so many other people in aspects of life. The people that often, so many people talk about healthy living, the body, this and that, and they're fucking doing drugs and fucking drinking themselves, like, their liver's all like, they're saying, preaching one thing and practicing something totally different, even at the cost of their own health or whatever it is. So, yeah, you got to find an alignment, and that's, again, then the training is going to be, bang on for you. Okay, but let's go to the next thing, because I want people, the first piece is who lives, who dies, mindset. You got it, great, keep developing it, keep working it. If you want to find training that synergizes, it's going to be even fucking better. If you feel like you don't have the right mindset, meaning that you feel like you have more of a survival mindset, not a desire to fucking want to win kind of mindset, you know what I mean? The doom on you mindset, then you training is going to give that to you. It's going to change the game for you. I'll be the first to admit, back in the day, man, I was kickboxing, did martial arts, all that type of shit. I didn't have that doom on you mindset. I didn't have it. I was, I played hockey. Had a competitive mindset. So you had this desire to want to win. That is, wanting to win in a competition of sport is different than what we're talking about. The doom on you mindset is very different than the desire to want to be the best and win the game and get the points and all that. That's very fucking different. Okay, but I'm not going to really go too deep into that tonight. The second piece of this is who makes the best fucking protectors. Is it law enforcement? Is it military? Or is it the private civilian? Because the answer to that is part of this conversation. So if we look at what we've already talked about and what we've already learned, and you say, listen, the will to survive is not as important as the will to prevail. Okay, so we're getting this doom on you kind of mindset. Who makes the best soldiers? Who makes the best law enforcement officers? And who makes the best who makes the best protectors out of law enforcement, military, or civilian? And this answer maybe a lot of people might not agree with this. Civilians, the private citizen, are far better warriors in mass numbers than law enforcement or military. Even if you combine them, private citizens are far better fucking warriors. Far better protectors. And let me explain this before everybody fucking goes absolutely ape shit on me. I'm going to use a very simple analogy because this is easier for everybody to relate to. Let's look at firearms training. Some of the best shooters in the world are military or law enforcement, personnel. There are far more highly skilled private citizens with firearms, right? There's far fucking more of them. Why? Because there's just millions of people that shoot that have no fucking connection to law enforcement or military. And here's the thing. They grew up handling a fucking gun. They grew up and at 5 years old were shooting gophers. They're out fucking hunting. They're out in the backwoods and fucking wherever in the world. And they're handling guns and they're hunting and they're shooting. They love it. They love sports shooting and skeet shooting and all this different type of shit. Now, here's the thing. Some of the best shooters in the world are law enforcement or military. But guess what? Those kids that grew up handling guns love shooting so fucking much that they got into the military or got into law enforcement. Colonel Jeff Cooper, who I've been quoting a lot lately just because I've been just rehashing some old stuff of his, but Jeff Cooper had a funny joke, and he was always like, I loved shooting from the time I was 5 years old. I loved it so much that, listen, he joined the military and was, very accomplished. He goes, the military didn't teach me to shoot. I fucking love shooting so much that I joined the military because I believed they would just give me more ammunition. You know what I mean? He goes, I didn't join it and then I found my love of shooting through it. I fucking already loved it, went into it because I'm like, gee, someone's going to pay for ammunition and give me all kinds of shit. So did he hone his skill more during his military? Well, yeah, I'm sure he did. My point is this. It's the people that fucking love it. Who are the best fighters in the world? Like, who are the best fighters in the world? Like Sean Strickland's, Conor McGregor's, Diaz. Who are the best fighters in the fucking world? Did they start as paid professionals? Or did they start as just fucking some kid went into a boxing gym, and boxing saved his life. He fell in love with it. He had a passion. What gets somebody to show up every day at a boxing gym and go through those fucking struggles? Go through the road work and the countless hours and the fights with no fucking pay and all the pain and all the suffering and all the injury. You know who does it? Only motherfuckers who love it. Fucking love it. And then someday they get pro, they get a shot, they start making monies and they become Conor McGregor's. How he got there was because of a fucking deep and intense passion for fighting. He fucking loved it. You know what I mean? So private citizens, they love shit. When you have people that come train with us, who are they? You have to love combat. You have to love fucking training. You have to love the that you have to love wanting to protect yourself, knowing that you can protect yourself. Like, why do I do this? Why do you do this? I fucking love the training. Like, I want to know how to protect myself. Fuck you, doom on you. I was almost murdered. Fuck that shit. Like, I have a fucking passion for this training. This is not a chore for me. Like, why do we do this every single week? We're not paid to do this. I don't have to do this. This doesn't make me any money at all. I just finished an entire fucking, yesterday was 8-9 hours of training. Today was another fucking 6-7 hours of training. I just finished this, jump on this. When I'm done this, I got a whole bunch more to fucking do. Like, tomorrow's the same fucking thing. Why do this shit? Because I fucking love it, period. Not because this is like, oh man, this is how I'm making money and shit like that. Yeah, this is how I provide for my family, but that's not the motivation. So I've been doing this for 30 fucking years. There are very few soldiers, very few law enforcement officers that have spent the time understanding, studying, and training for violence, understanding and studying the body language, the threat cues that I have. And yet there are some that are in those professions that loved it like I loved it, trained their whole fucking lives, became soldiers and police officers, maybe went special forces, got access and had millions of dollars put into their training, and they are tip of fucking spear. They're way the fuck up here. But those guys fucking love this shit. So just so I'm trying to make sure my point's on target, okay? The will to survive is not as important as the will to fucking prevail, right? And that comes from where? A love. You got to love it, man. You know what I mean? And or, you know, like something about this just fucking appeals to you. The people that come to us, they have most of them no fucking experience. But you'll always hear them say, you know, I've always been into this kind of shit. Even though but I didn't know anything like this existed. But I never wanted to do martial arts. I'm not interested in fucking competing in sport. I was always looking for something like they've always had a passion. That, when they start doing this, that passion is undeniable. This becomes what they do. I'm not saying this, but they don't go golfing. They don't play beer league hockey. And I'm not saying they don't, but they don't, like, we've had guys that, I can't come train on this day or that day because I play rec hockey. 6 months later, they don't play rec hockey. Or they play rec hockey 10% of what they used to play at. Why? Because they're like, I fucking love this shit. And they want to train. That's what they want to do. And so guess what? They make fucking phenomenal protectors. And it's easy to give them the mindset of like, fuck you, doom on you. Because they just love it. Right? So who lives and who dies?
With the
Starting
private
to paint
sector,
a different picture.
with the private sector as well, is this is something that they get to do and want to do and not have to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, you're paying for it. The guys that come to us, it's not the military sponsoring them. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not law enforcement saying you have to go do. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of people go into policing. Here's the thing. Why do people go into policing and why do people go into the military? Because it's a fucking job. People go in the military because it used to pay really well for your education. Because of this reason, because of that reason. They go into law enforcement because they make decent money and you get overtime and you get these benefits and that benefits and you got job security. You got this. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but a lot of people are looking for a career. And then you get some of these soldiers and some of these cops that they have a love with this shit. Like they're in love with the work. Like they have that desire to want to fucking serve and protect. They love shooting. They love, like, why do you think who tries out for SWAT? You'll get guys that do it because they think it's cool, and they love that. Oh, it'd be fun, you know. And then you get other guys that are just they just love that shit. They want to do fucking room clearing. Like they love every aspect of this, man. I remember, you know, because we, you know, trained a lot of cops over the years. And I remember I was just out with some guys that I trained and, you know, I was doing a ride along with them and stuff like that. And then I met a bunch of other guys. And I remember we're all out just having a bite to eat. This is after the shift. And there's about 10 guys there. And there's this one cop there. He wasn't a guy that I knew. But I'm talking to him. We're sitting there. And it was funny because the first Iraqi war was breaking out. The first Iraqi war, right? That's when it was, about that time frame. But I remember him talking about, and he's like, yeah, you know, he goes, I might take a leave here. And I'm like, take a leave? Like, what do you want to do? He goes, yeah, well, I'm going to see if I can take get a year-long leave or whatever and stuff like that. And he goes, well, you know, they got this whole thing going on overseas, and I thought I better get over there and check this shit out. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Seems like, seems like that could be fun. You want to go to war. Well, yeah, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh yeah, man, like I just grew up, fucking shooting, hunting, this, that, whatever. So it was like the police thing. He goes, I love this shit. But he goes, that seems like that was fun. That was his idea of fun. And it wasn't because he was some sick, twisted guy that I got to get over there, want to kill people. He loved the shit. He loved it. Like he like there was a passion to this stuff. So if you look at him when you're talking to him, every hobby he did, everything he had interest in had a survivable value. He loved being outdoors. He loved doing survival things. He loved challenging himself. He loved fucking pushing himself physically, being cold, being hungry. He loved shooting. He loved hunting. He just loved all the aspects of this stuff, So is it a real shock that this guy, and then of course everyone else at the table is like, this guy's the real fucking deal. And it's like, yeah. So he's rising, even among other cops. He's at a different level. Why? Because again, it comes back to this thing. He didn't just have the desire to survive. He just wasn't doing policing because he needed a good job. He wasn't looking for job security. He was motivated because he had a desire to win, to prevail, to challenge. He loved something about it. And that's just something that, again, I thought, it's a different conversation that is such a big part of training, because the training will develop this in people, but it exists in people already separate from any training. It's kind of already a character trait in them. And again, there's nothing against golf, but golf really doesn't have any survivable value. Like if you go play rugby, there's some survivable value in rugby. Why? Because it's manufactured aggression, because you're hitting and taking hits. And so you got to learn to have some grit. If you go out and you go hunting, there's tons of survivable value in hunting, obviously. If you just go skeet shooting, at least you're learning firearms handling. At least, you're like, there's just go rock climbing, there are so many different hobbies and things that have survivable value. Go learn to butcher. There's just all these different things that people can get into, but you have to have some sort of love to this thing. But those people that come, they go, I've hunted my whole life. And then they come to this and go, I've always been interested in something like this, but I have no experience in this. And it's like, oh, do you like hunting? Oh, yeah, I love hunting. Or I say, oh, no, I never really hunted, but I grew up, but I played hockey, I played rugby, to a high level. I did this, I did that, I did this. You can see the elements where you go, so what is it about that you liked? And they go, I didn't just like that shit. No, I really love that shit. I love going out doing this and hiking and this and being active and being physical, survivable value things. They're going to love training. And it's much easier to give that guy the fucking doom on you mindset. Right? So it's just interesting, again, an interesting characteristics or dynamics that people can kind of, hopefully they'll listen to this and kind of be like, that's fucking interesting. And if you have that in you and you're like, I have that quality in me, you're going to make a fucking phenomenal protector. And if you don't, but you go, but you know what? I've always wished maybe that I had more of that in me, or I would love to develop that. Training can do that for you. So I just thought, again, these are much bigger determining factors as to who lives and who dies than how good your eye shot is or how good you are with a knife or, anything like that. Those, again, at the end of the day, you can look at case studies and very few people are coming back going, the reason I'm still here is because I'm just a fucking deadly shot. The reason I'm here is because my elbows are just unstoppable. There's probably a much bigger underlying thing than that, which is, you're here because you were thinking a certain way. You have a fucking mindset. When you have the mindset and you have that elbow, you have the mindset and you have that gun handling or marksmanship, oh yeah, you're going to be a force to be reckoned with. You're going to rise to the 1% of people. And the guys that are really get into that, really love it, that's why they end up in the military. That's why they end up special forces. That's why they end up SWAT. That's why they end up in specialized elite units. Because they fucking love it. It's a fucking passion for them, right? And so many, we could tie this into a whole thing where, again, there's far more civilians in the world than there are military personnel or law enforcement personnel. And not every one of them loves to shoot, loves all that stuff, but there is fucking tons of people that love shooting to the point that they train religiously. They've grown up on it. There's a lot of guys that love to fight. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of guys that love to be physical. There's lots of guys that have these qualities. And if now with the way the world is, these guys are shifting and going, you know what? I'm not doing this for entertainment value anymore. I want to be able to protect. Doom on you. And so now they're coming to organizations like ourselves and saying, I want to weaponize. And they fucking love it. And when they start loving it, they train it, they become amazing protectors. That's the people we're putting out into the communities. Good, hardworking people that have a passion for this type of work, this type of training, this type of pursuit. And you want people like that out there, right? You want them in the communities. You want that guy next to you on the LRT. You want that guy in your place of work. You want that guy driving home in traffic around you, because when road rages and fucking shit happens and all this stuff, that guy will move towards the sound of danger, and he will engage in it, and you will be thankful that he is there, right? And that is your quote unquote private citizen. Okay, so that's the people and that's going to determine who lives and who dies.
Yeah, the one thing that I'll add to that, and it's just really just a side point, it's because they love it so much, they're putting in a tremendous amount of hours. Like, it's not like, oh, I have to get my shooting hours in, and you have to have this, you have to make sure you get 10 hours a year, whatever it is.
Yeah, 50
like
rounds every 6 months or a year to qualify.
Yeah, whatever it is like they're not. It's hours and hours and hours, as much time as they possibly can to put into it, and that's why that private sector is so powerful. Is because they'll just keep going. It's not like, oh, I meet my minimums, I don't have to do this again for another 6 months. It's like, no, I'll do this every day.
Yeah, well, look at over the years. We've trained a lot of cops, a lot of soldiers. The very best ones that I've ever trained, the guys that has been the greatest honor to work with, all come on their own time and their own dime.
Yeah.
They're not training with me where their department or their unit is paying for it. They're training with me. What's that?
It's almost like the department tried to get them to cancel the ability to come and train.
That's a whole other podcast. Yeah, it's almost like, yeah, exactly. You're doing too much warrior training. You're in love with this shit too much. Stop. Yeah, it's like, and again, it's the same consistent theme. They love it, and so to them, it's not even an option. They pursue it out of that passion, not because they're like, well, I want to be the best at my job. They fucking love it. Right? And they're right in there with every other private citizen that feels the same way with them, and they're just all, they're protectors, right? So occupations isn't even a contributing factor. Okay, so anyways, I don't know. There's probably not a whole lot more to go on this. I think the point's been made. But yeah, hopefully there's some real takeaway for people. Again, the power of mindset. You got to have the right mindset. It's not just survive, but you want to prevail, the doom on you mindset. And at the end of the day, you have that love that is connected, that has that survivable value, that wants to be like, I fucking want to thrive at this shit. That passion is one of the highest quality and greatest fuel systems that just takes someone from this average guy and just turn him into a weaponized human being, right? And it just takes very little effort on our part, because the love's there, the fuel's there. So it just moves from that, and the training just makes everything, again, zero to formidable, tactical to surgical. You want to get through that, you fall in love with the process. That's why we always say, work the process, because the process works. Fall in love with the process. That's the thing. People love training, they love doing it, and they don't quit. They just fucking keep going. So, okay, so I think that's it. I don't know if you have anything else you want to throw down range on that, but that's probably...
No, I think it just, again, this is something that, you said it, zero to formidable, is that, like some people are like, yeah, I have that. And then there could be some people sitting there be like, yeah, I don't know if I have that. It's like, well, that could be developed.
Yep, 100%.
It's 100% it can be developed.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter what, like I said, I didn't have this mindset. There's not a chance in hell I had this mindset.
Yeah.
Right? But I said it all the time. Again, with this, there's no belts, there's no certificates, there's no fucking, there's no recognition. It's just you show up and train. Why? Because I fucking love it. Because I need to be able to protect myself. like I'm in love with that freedom to protect myself. I'm in love with my right to life. Like I value my life, and I love this. I love anything that helps me do that. That gives me more confidence. I love it. So you don't need any external stimuli. You don't need any external motivation. It's all intrinsic, right? And that's again, why are the guys that are the very best in any of the law enforcement, military or civilian, they love it the most. They just fucking obsessed with it, right? So that's how it works. Okay, so anyways, yeah, it was good. It was a fun little topic, right? Something, a little bit, I think, lighter topic, but it was worth sharing it with people. So, all right, that's it. We're gonna end it here for tonight. Next week, Brad will be back, Dustin will be back, and I'll be back. So we'll wrap it up here, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, for joining us. Like, share, comment, all that fun stuff. And until next time, please stay safe, stay weaponized. We're gonna chat again soon, everybody. Take care.